Hello, everyone. I am Matt from Telling Tales. We make atmospheric role-playing games in actual play form here for you on the internet and stream them for your delight and edification and horror. Hi, how you doing? The reason I'm wearing a baseball cap tonight is, don't worry, I haven't become a streamer. Instead, it is there to provide a sign of loyalty and respect to the city we are occupying for this series, the Cincinnati Chronicles, where we'll be taking 5 of the core systems from the World of Darkness games, skipping through them in 5 story arcs set on the same day in the same city. How exciting. And yeah, Vampire is where we're starting, and we started last week. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our players in a moment, but first, I've got some promo to do, and I've got an exciting announcement to make. And obviously, I'll make the announcement at the end of the promo, so you have to sit through it, because that's how optimization works, folks. That's how that works. So, promo stuff down below. There's a bunch of links. There's links to our YouTube, to our Twitch. You're watching this on one, please check it out on the other. Give us a subscribe and like, blah 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 blah. You know, you've heard that 1,000 times. There's links to our social media, our Discord, our Patreon. Those all do the things those things do. If you're interested in any of them, please check them out. We run 3 weekly series here on Twitch, each of them starting at 8 o'clock p.m. GMT. Mondays is currently Shadows of God, I nearly said Shadows of Estrogen, which entirely different story and setting. Shadows of Esterin, which is Johnny's Monday crew doing a kind of low gothic fantasy thing. Wednesdays is Symbaroom, which is our kind of flagship dark fantasy series. And Thursdays is this, World of Darkness. Now, how exciting. Wonderful. We also run a one-shot on the first Saturday of every month. There's been a bunch of them through this year. And you know what? Let's talk about that, because we have run 10 one-shots this year through 2021, and we've had a great time with them. We've explored some different systems, some different kind of genres, and played around and have fun. Some people have done kind of the first GMing they've done in years, or kind of at all. Yeah, how exciting is that? And even more exciting, for our final one-shot this year, at the beginning of December, we have offered fans, patrons, crew members, and anyone else who just walked along at the right time the opportunity to vote in a poll on which one they wanted to see a sequel to in December, out of the 10 we've done already. And that poll has now been completed. We have tallied the thousands and thousands of results, 24 results that we received. And I can confidently reveal, you know what? Let's add a bit of tension to this in some way. How about, what do we reckon the top, what does chat reckon? Shall I announce the top 3, the top 5 in reverse, something like that? Or do you just want me to shut up and announce what the system was? Drum roll indeed. Top 3. Malice says top 3. That's good enough for me. Well, that'll be a bit of a cheat, I'm afraid, because the top 3 is the top 4. At 9 votes each, we had Troika and the One Ring. Now, interesting to me. I was kind of expecting the One Ring to hit that high. Wasn't expecting Troika. Wonderful, abstract, surreal chicanery that it is. So that was really exciting. Number 2, and this, like, maybe some people have expected it to win, but I think everyone was expecting it to feature quite highly. Number 2 with 10 votes was Honey Heist. Which was a real popular thing with bears and hats and honey and heists, that I'm not surprised at all. People nearly voted for, but with a couple of votes over that, and our winner and what will be our one-shot for December was the first one-shot we ever did, Alien. Clearly you are creatures of nostalgia, either that or you just really like player characters being insta-killed through no fault of their own. So yeah, Alien won. So we will have a sequel to that. It's not 100% guaranteed we'll have the exact same player crew from the first one, but maybe we will. We'll certainly have most of them. But I just have to lock that down with a few other people, as well as the dates. Normally our one-shots will be on the first Saturday of every month. This one might be later than that. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. But either way, Alien, A Place of Burning, Part 2. Excited? I hope so. Good. Yes. Let's get splattered. Indeed, says chat. So there we go. But we're not here to talk too much about Alien, folks. We're here to talk about Cincinnati Chronicles, to talk about our Vampire the Masquerade arc, which is called My Brother's Keeper. And let's start bringing our players for a recap of last week's first episode. And we're going to start with the wonderful John, who is going to join us. And John plays Cole, a Bruges idealist, is a good description of him, I guess. Yeah. So, and for anyone who doesn't know, I didn't know how much to talk last week about like concepts in Vampire the Masquerade and World of Darkness. With these limited story arcs, I'm not sure we'll have the time to get overly into them. Although, if anyone wants anything answered, they can pop it in chat and we'll talk about it at the end of the episode. But yeah, Cole, he's a member of Clan Bruges. He's an idealist. Why don't you tell us? Pardon me. Ow. Really nearly made it to the end of that sentence. Why don't you tell me how the Cincinnati Chronicles kicked off, John, please?
So it kicked off with our coterie. I thought you were going to do a bit there.
That was a bit. It was just a very short bit.
It kicked off with our coterie stopping for gas on a very quiet night in Cincinnati to find that the gas station we had stopped at had not had a quiet night, and that there was blood and a severed hand and pieces of people crammed into a locker and someone pinned to the ceiling by a pipe skewered through their chest. And that's how our evening started.
Yeah, pretty much. Exciting, dangerous times. And also worth noting, all this was very clearly done by another kindred, because a couple of the bodies had been drained dry and still had fang marks in them, horribly threatening the Masquerade. So what did the coterie do with this find and this information? Let's bring on our second player. Let's bring on Inga. And Inga is playing Joan of Clan Tremere, definitely the least anarchistic member of the group, I think, and a relative newcomer to Cincinnati. Inga, why don't you take us through what happened next?
So the others went in and had a bit of an explore, kind of looking at finding, sort of shotguns and the like, and then we decided to have a bit of we sort of realized this was horrible news with it being such a breach of the Masquerade. So we started to take a look for the like the manager's sort of office where we could find the tapes for the CCTV. That if we could find something there. Well, Joan went and called the Chantry to say that we needed some sort of cleanup job and could we get in touch with the sheriff. So the sheriff was called out. The sheriff called us back and told us to do our best to clean up while they could. There was other business going on in the city that night, and then he came along to meet us at the gas station.
Absolutely. So already, your first night of Vampire the Masquerade, and already the sheriff is arriving to clean up messes with you, Sheriff Diamond. So let's bring on our third player, Pierre. Pierre plays Fen Koval, former Hollywood himbo, now turned Nosferatu sneakster. Pierre has a habit of playing sneaksters on this channel.
What can I say?
Just a sneaky guy. So, Pierre, Sheriff Diamond arrived. Take us through the following events.
Yeah, so Sheriff Diamond arrived. He complimented us on our excellent job at basically cleaning up as best we could, which I think is a win. And then he after sort of having a look and giving us instructions about like how best to deal with all of these various bits of body parts, which was to incinerate them, he basically went looking for the tape that recorded from the security camera that had recorded what had gone on, and he was quite happy for us to watch over his shoulder as he played the massacre that had occurred. A man none of us recognized in a sort of, I think it was like a long brown coat, walked into the gas station and said something to some people, and then they acted real weird. And then they all turned towards him and said something in unison, which was very strange. And then he just sort of tore into them. And me personally, I have no idea what was going on there. That isn't anything I'm aware of people doing. He also seemed to be like panicked or like freaked out.
It
was weird.
Seems like bad times all round happened at this gas station for sure. And upon seeing this, obviously, you'd done what you could at the gas station, and then Sheriff Diamond encouraged a group of you after making a phone call to accompany him to go see someone, and to tell us about that trip to see that someone, or at least as far as we got last session. Let's bring on our final player, Holly. Holly plays Natalia Wolf, Toreador, graffiti artist, and local, certainly Annex sympathizer, and person who would rather just be left alone than have to deal with all this. I think it's safe to say, or at least left out of this. But it is not to be. So, Holly, why don't you take us through how we ended up last time?
So, we finished off by burning the bodies of the people who've been killed at the gas station, and then all hopped into cars. So Joan went with Sheriff Diamond in his car, and the rest of us drove behind in the... Is it a Cadillac that we're driving?
It is a cherry red Cadillac.
It's a Cadillac. Car. Okay, yeah. So Natalia was driving, and we went from the very rundown area that we were in at the start of the session over to the significantly more fancy side of Cincinnati, and then drove up to a very large, like, manor house style thing, and went inside, and there was lots of like Roman iconography, large frescoes, lots of Latin writing all over the place. At which point Sheriff Diamond directed us towards a door. He did not go inside, but he directed us to go inside. So we all went into a large, very fancy room that had no windows, to meet the guy who was in there, who introduced himself as the Prince of Cincinnati, Ludlow. And that was pretty much where we finished the session.
It absolutely was, with Ludlow, I believe, rounding the desk to proffer his hand to people as a means of introduction, explaining on the way that because of the unusual way in which Cincinnati is governed, mostly the Primogen controls the night-to-night affairs of Cincinnati, with Ludlow only stepping up in times of great need and stuff like that. That there's a possibility that some of you may not even have properly met him. So that is exactly where we will pick up. And let's pick up with a bit of a question to you folks here. So as I say, when a vampire is first embraced, or in a city, or when they first arrive in a city, there is a custom for them to present themselves to the prince, so that the prince is aware of them, and so that prince can frankly sanction their embrace in the first place, if that's the manner of their introduction. Now, because the Primogen is in sort of direct control most of the time in Cincinnati, it's entirely possible that one or all of you, or anywhere in between, may not have been properly presented to Prince Ludlow, and therefore may not have met him properly. Having said that, it's also possible that some of you may have met him at Elysium. The space is considered kind of sacrosanct and safe for social events within the city, because he frequents those quite a lot as well. But maybe you haven't. Maybe you go to Elysium, but you're not the kind of person who gets an introduction to the prince. So it's entirely up to you guys whether you've met Prince Ludlow before. And you know what? I'm just going to go round one by one, and I'm going to randomize it and let's see. And you don't need to go into too much detail or anything. Just say whether you think you've met Ludlow before or not. Let's say two things. Do you think you were presented to Ludlow, and do you think you've met him at all? Yeah, why don't we do that? And we're going to start with one of our World of Darkness newcomers. We're going to start with Inga. So Joan, was Joan presented to the prince, and have you met him at all?
I think because I'm still quite a newcomer, so I think maybe I haven't been presented. Maybe it's sort of to be done yet, but yeah, might have been at events that I've been at, but like so far. But I think probably not formally like presented. Would recognize who he was. Would probably be intended to be presented to him, but
absolutely,
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me, especially with the Tremere might want to formally present you, but maybe they haven't got around to it yet. John, how about Cole? Because Cole's probably not entirely that popular, maybe too much with the city's establishment.
He's definitely not popular. Cole wouldn't have been introduced to the prince. I think there may have been a tongue-in-cheek introduction to Loveland, who is the Bourgeois Primogen, but that's as far as the official introductions really went. I think Cole will have seen Ludlow from afar at Elysium. But
because we talked a little bit about your background this week and how Cole maybe acts as kind of an in-between between the Annex and the establishment. So maybe you've dealt with Ludlow's associates a fair bit, like the lower down members of the Ventru clan and stuff like that, but maybe not with Ludlow directly.
I think Cole's dealings are still mostly like middle management level.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to Holly and Natalia. To my mind, but feel free to naysay me, probably the most likely person to have been introduced to the prince.
Yeah, so at least presumably as a kind of almost showing off. At that point, but I think I also will have been introduced to him formally, probably at Elysium by my sire at some point.
Absolutely, at like any number of exhibitions of your work or Toreador work in general and things like this, absolutely would make a lot of sense to do so. So Pierre, this just leaves Fen Koval. What do you think your relationship with the prince is so far?
So I think that either I do not know the prince at all, or one of the frog boys, whoever is my sire, who I still don't know fully, may have sent a sort of joke or spiteful like fake introduction to me, as though like as a way of like humiliating me. And I have no idea if I don't think I've met the prince, because maybe even that offended like the middle manager who was dealing with that.
Sure.
I'm not. Does that make sense in terms of?
No, yeah, that makes absolute sense. Yeah, I think you've probably flown under the radar a fair bit. You probably have some kind of formal presentation, because the Nosferatu tend to play by the rules, but at least, the bits that people can see play by the rules. But that can be just to the Primogen.
Sure,
doesn't have to be to.
I think it would have been to the Primogen, and the Primogen would have just sort of been like,
"Yeah, all right, yes, all right." Embarrassing Nosferatu joke. Moving on. Yeah, sure. That sounds good. So with that in mind then, Ludlow, and I'll describe him once more for you. He's a very plain looking individual, sort of, he's shaved clean. He's got brown hair and a very, undistinctive sort of haircut, wearing kind of like a nice suit without a tie or a jacket, just kind of business casual look. And it's nice, but it's not remarkable, or it doesn't strike. It's not like a fancy Italian suit or anything. And he stepped around the table to proffer his hand. And I would like to know, because he's proffering his hand to the group, I would like to know who, if anyone, is going to step up first and shake his hand.
I think Joan would.
I thought Joan might. He kind of, and we'd said that you hadn't been presented to him yet, or maybe you've been presented to the Primogen or some such, but you haven't been here long. He takes takes your hand and shakes it kind of firmly but not unpleasantly. You know, a very nicely balanced handshake. And he nods his head at you with a bright smile and says, "You would be Miss Woods, I imagine."
Yes, we've not been formally introduced. Yes, Joan Woods.
No, of course. As I say, I've completely forgotten my American accent. As I say, it's not often that I am really receiving these presentations when new kindred arrive in our city. It's truly excellent to meet you. Your clan is a well-established and valued member of our society here in Cincinnati. He releases your hand and turns to the others. He seems to wish to shake everyone's hand, but he's waiting to see who comes to him first. So is anyone going to come to him next? I mean, it's an option that all of you just stand there awkwardly, but...
No, I totally would go for it. Or...
Yeah, I think Cole was moving like slightly behind Joan, not trying to look eager.
Sure.
Definitely not eager, but Cole will...
If two of you think you might go next, why don't we have a roll-off for it? And this is what a gorgeous roll this is going to be, because we're going for your choice of dexterity or wits plus etiquette.
Okay,
get
can I add
that
my celerity
speedy
to
etiquette
that?
in. Sorry?
Can I add my celerity to that?
I think you can if you spend blood. Isn't it a spending of a blood to do it? It would be a weird thing to do.
Yeah, just like
because you would be like super speeding into the handshake.
There's a thing.
Okay.
As a free thing, add 1 dice to every dexterity roll.
Yeah. Then you can absolutely do that. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. I sort of feel like my better role is dexterity etiquette, but I don't feel like the thing that is giving me the one up is how quick I am in terms of actual physical speed. So I'm probably going to go for wits plus etiquette, which is
go for it
4 dice. So I roll that.
Yeah, and it's just difficulty 6 for everyone. It's just whoever gets more successes.
I got 7, 5, 7, 6. So that's 2 successes, right?
7, 5, 7, 6 with 3 successes.
Oh. I got 1 success.
Then Fan easily steps in faster, kind of quicker thinking, rolling with that wits roll. And again, Ludlow will offer you his hand, and he shakes it in exactly the same way he shook Joan's hand. It's probably worth saying that as a Nosferatu, you're not particularly used to having physical contact with other kindred who are not Nosferatu, for horrible social reasons, but he seems perfectly happy to, and says, "I'm afraid you may have me at something of a disadvantage, but would I be correct in saying Mr. Koval?"
Yeah, I'm slightly taken aback by the fact that he like even knows my name and the fact that he's shaking my hand, and I'm sort of like, yes, I'm Ben Koval. Pleased to meet you, sir. Pleased to meet you. And I shake his hand like.
It's kind of he happily goes along with that and kind of disengages at an opportune moment and says, "It's good to meet your acquaintance. Mother Mary speaks very highly of you indeed."
Yeah, she's.
I'm taking it Cole is next then, if because it sounds like Natalia is holding back to the end or maybe holding off completely. You know, he's going to turn to you, Colin, shake your hand, and I think you said you've like did you say that you were presented to the Primogen, but you've been around a while and dealt with his lackeys probably and stuff like that. And he shakes your hand. Go ahead.
Will have like, I mean, I will have noticed him at Elysium. Whether he's noticed me is
sure. And he turns and says, "Oh, Mr. Cole, of course. I've heard numerous good reports of you from my clanmates and business associates. It's good to finally make your acquaintance. Perhaps too little do our worlds collide. Collide is a bad word. Mingle."
It's nice to hear you say that, Prince Ludlow. Thank you very much for inviting us into your home.
Of course. And final guest here tonight requires no introduction. Miss Wolf. He kind of sketches a slight sort of nod and bow and stands for just a moment, seeing if you want to shake his hand.
Yeah, I'm not going to offer to shake the hand unless it's preferred. I'll just offer like not a nod, but like a quick, like very slight bow.
Sure, like an inclination.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. He nods and smiles and says, "I was particularly impressed with the last exhibition you made at the museum."
I am glad it acquired your attention in such a passing manner, but it is very much appreciated.
I dedicate a not inconsiderable amount of time to the wonderful efforts of Clan Toreador here in Cincinnati. Both yourself and your sire, wonderful, unique talents.
Well, that is greatly appreciated.
He turns around to kind of return around his desk and says, "These matters of creativity are what make this immortal life worth living." So he kind of returns to the other side of his desk and gestures. There are 4 kind of quite plump leather desk chairs that are sort of seated in a semicircle on your side of the desk, and he kind of gestures for you to seat yourself in them.
I gladly sit.
Yep. As you sit, a hidden door in the wood panels of the wall to your right opens, and a woman dressed in a sharp but functional business dress and jacket walks in with dark hair tied back. She carries a plain wooden platter on which are 5 simple wine glasses of crimson blood. She places the platter down mid-desk to a softly spoken thank you from Ludlow and returns through the wall. "I know it can be out of fashion for other princes, or even members of my own clan, I am ashamed to say, but hospitality is still placed in high regard in my chambers. Please," he gestures for people to take a glass.
I will. Am I if I'm on full blood,
You can still drink.
I can still happily.
Yeah, you can still drink. It just doesn't give you any extra blood points.
Yep.
Is anyone not taking the glass of blood?
It's real good.
If I see Natalia hesitating, I might give her a little bit, a gentle kick to the ankle. Like
I definitely. Nice. I hesitate, but I'm still going to go for it.
Sure. Well, let's say that your circle of seats is the arrangement we have for the cams now. So we could say that Cole is next to Natalia and just nudges with the foot. Ludlow takes his last. Will take the remaining glass and drinks from it with seeming enjoyment. The blood is still warm, very clean, very pure tasting. In fact, you know what? And this is not strictly according entirely to the rules, but let's pick on the Toreador. So Natalia. You, I believe, will maybe have your kind of Toreador giving into when a Toreador experiences something truly remarkable. So you know what? Actually, that's fine and does kind of fit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So you need to make a self-control roll at difficulty 6, and if you fail, you're somewhat enthralled by the experience. Good fun.
Okay, that is 3 successes.
Wonderful. Don't forget, folks, by the way, 1s take away successes. I'm sure that is not the case with Natalia's roll there with 3 successes, but you easily kind of maybe there's a moment of some kind of reverie. It's up to you, but you move past it and don't need to spend the rest of the scene kind of, in my head. For some reason, I was about to explain what that might look or sound like, and all I had in my head was Homer with like a box of, with donuts.
Yeah.
But
Well,
not like that.
I was imagining more like a wine taster who's like trying to look through like one of the lights on the wall, just like trying
absolutely
to look through it,
just kind of fascinated with the aesthetic of it and the taste of it. But that doesn't happen, so it's all good. Ludlow sort of sits back in his chair and kind of slides the papers he was working on over to one side of his desk. He kind of crosses his legs and rests his hands over his knees. So I hear from the remarkable Sheriff Diamond that the troubles that assail fair Cincinnati tonight are far from fully catalogued. Could you share with me the details you know of this violent incident you stumbled upon?
I'm sort of sipping, like looking over my glass at like Joan or Natalia for like some sort of sign of whether I should be blabbing to this guy.
I'm just going to look at Joan.
Okay, Joan was going to look at Natalia and see if she looked like she was going to say anything. If she didn't, then Joan.
If those two are hesitating, then I will like go straight ahead and yeah. Yeah, we saw it on the TV. There was a guy in a long brown coat who said some words to some people, and they said some words in unison back to him, and then he got kind of freaked out and exploded him and went crazy on him. Did some real messed up stuff.
By which Mr. Koval here means they breached the Masquerade. They drank dry a couple of the bodies, didn't close back the wounds, left bodies impaled on the ceiling, severed hands around the place. It was all unlocked. Anybody could have walked in there. We were unbelievably lucky that we were the next ones in. We can only assume.
Well, one person did walk in there, but they immediately left, and they only saw the blood on the ceiling from what we could see from the security tapes.
And we'd have to assume no one went round the back.
Yeah, which there weren't any security cameras around the back, so potentially other people could have gone in. We know the door was ajar.
Well, it seems to me, ladies and gentlemen, as if we have to operate with the information we do have. And as you say, a grotesque breach of the Masquerade in our traditions. Clearly, it seems one of our own has gone rogue and is a danger to our society and the kind alike. Normally, the Primogen would be capable of handling this without any intervention from myself, but with other events today and tonight, it seems we are close to crisis, and that is when I must step up and grant aid to a city in need. With that in mind, I've asked Diamond to pick some hands capable of tracking down and dealing with this unknown individual, and he has said that you showed remarkable initiative. Perhaps you can step up when called upon and provide the help required. I am sure the city will look fondly on your actions.
Of course. And then I'll look back at the others and see whether they look agreeable.
The face that you see on me is like somewhat panicked. Because I am aware of how fast that guy moved and like how terrifyingly above our pay grade this man is.
Well, it's true that we couldn't exactly leave this individual to wreak whatever chaos he wanted around the city, but equally, we're not hunters so much.
Oh, I'm sure you are doing yourself a disservice. You are, after all, hunters by nature.
We think there may be something that it wasn't just a rogue member of our society. There was something unusual about, as Fen here said, that he turned to people who seemed to chant in unison. Whoever this kindred was, he looked panicked as well. He may not be just a rogue vampire. There may be something else causing.
No, indeed. Something else at play, perhaps. Often the case in these kind of situations. No man is an island, as I'm sure you have all heard. Can I count on you to attempt to take care of this miscreant, then? I do so prefer to ask rather than insist.
Sure. Perhaps we might be better able to deal with to investigate and to come to the bottom of this if we knew exactly how this fit into the other events of the evening. Do you happen to have any intel that you could give us?
I'm afraid I do not personally, but the Primogen are dealing with those other events, but I'm sure Sheriff Diamond can catch you up on any links he's found. He's a very resourceful individual, and above all, I'm sure you will do us proud, Mr. Koval. I know you are concerned here, feeling that the city is called on you in this time of need, but that is exactly the point at which we must stand up, put the plow aside, and take up the sword. Diamond will be able to send you on your way with some assistance and words of guidance. If you could see your way clear to resolving this as swiftly as possible, I would be grateful. Should you have anything to report by the middle of the night, please do attend Elysium at the Art Museum. I will be there and would appreciate any news so I can inform the Primogen of progress while they are busy dealing with other tragedies.
Of course. Your Excellency, Honor. I'm not quite sure whether.
That's a good.
I'm not sure.
My prince would be the
Of course, my prince.
I suppose for the city.
For the Grand Queen City.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I have a great deal of paperwork to do. I'm sure you understand.
Before we leave, as we've alluded to, this individual seems to be, at the very least, possessing in great strength and speed. They also seem to have evaded at least some of your own forces, which means they may not be particularly easy to track down. Are there any additional resources that you could lend to us to help assist with finding this individual?
Resources will absolutely be provided, Miss Wolf. Sheriff Diamond is outside and has all the details for you.
My thanks.
Okay. Well, I suppose we should be...
He's kind of looking at you with a certain amount of expectancy that you will leave.
I guess we should be getting on our way.
I will empty my glass, replace it on the platter, and stand with a respectful nod.
Yeah, I probably start heading out with the glass in hand, and then realize what I'm doing and turn around and then come back.
Sure.
Yeah, it's still probably half full, but yeah.
Absolutely. Is anyone? I'm assuming someone is closing the door behind them, relatively calmly and quietly.
Yeah, I'll probably be the last out. So yeah.
Sure. It closes with a click. A short way down the corridor, this wood panel corridor with this lush purple carpet. Sheriff Diamond is kind of standing with his hands kind of clasped together, over his front, and just kind of looking, kind of waiting for you to come over to him, I suppose.
I'll gladly approach.
Sure. So Sheriff Diamond, just to reiterate our description of him, is a sort of quite well-muscled African-American man with a youthful, almost kind of cherubic face and closely cropped hair, tight grey shirt, black jeans. Looks like he's probably maybe in his mid-30s, but could definitely pull off younger. And as you approach, he kind of indicates to you in a kind of professional manner, and says, "Was the request from the prince clear to all of you?"
Yes.
All right.
Man.
I'll be honest. I'm a little slower than my compatriots here. If could you clarify exactly what we must do? Just for me.
Well, you know, I don't like to repeat myself, so follow me. We're going to meet someone who can help you. I'll tell you all together. If you feel you need it, follow my car. He turns and just starts walking down the corridor, presumably to exit this large building and get in his BMW. Is there anything anyone wants to kind of do or interact or say on their way out of this building, or kind of are we just proceeding after him?
I will be happy if we are all alive at the end of this night. Did you see? Oh boy. Okay.
Look, Fen, doing this probably gives us a higher likelihood of being alive by the end of the night. Refusing a request from the prince.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Refusing this opportunity would be foolish.
Yeah.
We've only just begun investigations. Let's see how we go. Don't dismay too much.
I don't think this doesn't sound like the kind of thing we can refuse anyway.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a case of whether we choose or...
There's a rock in a hard place.
Yeah. At least this way we look gracious, Fen.
Yeah. So you head outside this building, as it is in the area of Cincinnati known as Hyde Park, an upscale area for sure. Diamond gets in his BMW without kind of another word to you. I assume everyone's cramming into his Cadillac to follow. And he leads you not that far through the nighttime roads of Cincinnati. Again, the roadways are somewhat clear apart from an unusual amount of emergency services that all seem to be heading north, perhaps to the manufacturing plant explosion that you kind of seen on the TV and heard on the radio all about it through the events last week. He pulls up on the outer edge of the city center at a brightly lit diner with a small parking lot that he kind of pulls into. All around are kind of some large stores, and there's a couple of kind of office blocks not too far away. It's kind of a fairly respectable area. The diner, for whatever reason, whether it be kind of the events that have happened in Cincinnati today or otherwise, seems to be pretty much empty, but definitely still open. You can see someone sweeping up inside. It's a kind of and this is where our outside the US perspectives come in. It's a very kind of like retro 50s style place, you know. I'm sure we can all picture that. And as you walk in, the kind of buzzing, flashing sign overhead the entrance says Spindrift Diner. You walk in to, as I say, a slightly retro 50s themed diner, complete with a brightly lit jukebox and a small dance floor. But the screen above the dance floor is showing the local news, still having those kind of helicopters wheeling over a tower of somewhat diminished flame, but increasing smoke pouring out of this manufacturing plant to the north of the city. There is a youngish man kind of stood over by the dance floor, and he's kind of like resting his hands on the broom and looking up at this TV displaying the local news. He's kind of quite a large, robust looking young man. He's got quite quite pale, with very pale blonde hair that's kind of like a swept mess on top of his head. And he sort of slowly turns round as you come in and kind of like reaches down to a control and clicks it, so that now the TV is showing kind of a very old, possibly 50. It's in black and white, like an old baseball game from maybe the 50s or 60s that's just now playing on there. And he kind of hops behind the counter with the brush pushed to one side and kind of gets a pad and starts kind of readying himself for customers. Sheriff Diamond walks down the long line of empty booths and sits at the very end, kind of tucked away in one corner. At no point during this has he kind of said anything to you or indicated that you should, come with me and sit here. But he seems kind of expectant that you will do just that.
Did he? Does he look like he has like a flush to his skin? Does he look?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he does.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that because we've played, Pierre here has played 5th edition before, where to basically interact with humans at all, you need to be spending blood to not look like a corpse. That is not the case in this 20th edition that we're running.
Okay.
It's only if you want to like do kind of living person things, like just base interactions. People go, they're a bit pale, but they won't think you're dead.
Sure.
Having said that, you are a Nosferatu.
Yeah. Maybe the fact that I have unseen presence and various other things, I can possibly. I don't know how. If this is a brightly lit place, it's probably quite difficult for me to move.
It is
totally
probably quite
unseen.
difficult. Do you want to? I mean, last time you tried your Mask of 1,000 Faces, right? You could do that again, or you could just have your hood up and just rely on the fact that maybe this guy won't note that you're a bit weird looking.
I was about to say I can potentially provide a distraction for you if I go in front of you.
Yeah, it's probably okay. I'll
just to draw some attention away.
Actually, I guess I'll use my Mask of 1,000 Faces again, just to you can.
It worked well last time, right?
It seemed to work.
And it doesn't involve spending blood, so it doesn't really hurt not to try it, right?
So
that's manipulation plus performance, difficulty 7, and also hang on,
5 dice. To determine how well the disguise work. It's a character. I'm not really impersonating somebody apart from.
No, you're not. But there is. Oh no, sorry. You do need to pay additional blood points equal to the difference between your appearance rating and their appearance. So if you wanted to be appearance 1, and therefore for it to have any purpose at all, you have to spend 1 blood point.
I will do that.
Cool.
So I'm spending 1 blood. I'm rolling 8898. 1. So the 1 cancels out one of those successes. So that's 3 successes.
So yeah, you look exactly the way you want to appear. So would it be like a kind of like a somewhat uglier version of actual Fenkoval? Kind of maybe you just lessen your Nosferatu features?
Sure.
Sort of thing?
Yeah. It's not quite so monstrous.
Absolutely. No one is going to particularly remark on you. Jobs are good. So you make your way down to this booth, and are we all kind of sitting in there alongside Diamond?
Yeah, I sidle in. Let me sneak on past you.
I would have given the TV a bit of a lingering look, both when it was on the new site and after it has been swapped to the baseball game.
Sure.
And just mutter, what the hell is going on tonight?
And as you say that, in fact, about 10 seconds after that, you hear fire sirens kind of going past as another engine roars on its way to whatever is going on. Diamond settles himself into the booth. The young man with the kind of shock of light blonde hair comes over to the booth and with a kind of slightly lazy, dreamy smile, just kind of like looks over everyone and just kind of raises his eyebrows. Diamond turns to him and says, "Evening, Marshall. I'll have a coffee." Marshall kind of nods and says, "Does anyone else want anything?"
Coffee.
Yes, please.
3 coffees. I think we still have some pie left.
I'll have some
I'm
pie
alright,
then.
thank you.
Okay. 3 coffees and a pie. Everyone having a good night?
Had better.
I hope it improves. And he kind of wanders off to the counter, not as, you don't think he's on the verge of forgetting it, but he's just kind of going, coffee and pie, as he walks back. The only other evidence of human life in this entire diner, you can see people walking along the street outside. You can hear kind of muffled voices back in the kitchen, presumably of people making the food and talking to each other back there. Diamond does not seem overly... he doesn't seem to be about to start talking to you all. So it's up to you if you want to engage each other or him, or just wait.
So are we here for the coffee and pie?
Sure. We're waiting for someone.
If the silence continues for more than like 30 seconds, I'm assuming there's a jukebox.
There absolutely is a jukebox.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to go over and put on something.
It
If it's a
definitely
50s diner, then
it mostly has 50s and 60s songs in it.
I'm probably going to spend a good like 5 minutes in front of that thing, just clicking through all of the selections of songs.
Mhm.
There's got to be some good country music on.
And then eventually settle on just like, I don't know, something blues, because that's the closest that you're
Sure.
going to get.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as that kind of starts playing, Marshall comes back. He's got kind of, he's expertly carrying with the expertise of a practiced diner worker. He's carrying kind of all the coffees and the pie and kind of places them down. I think Natalie was the only person not to order anything. And he places down everything else in front of people. Diamond kind of picks up his coffee and kind of stares at each of you slightly as he takes a sip and swallows and puts it down. His glance seems to indicate, if you've ordered something, you better have it. John, can you remind us of the rules for doing human things?
That's a very good question.
My intent was like, I like look up, see if there's anyone looking, and then like with my hand just scoop a little bit of pie and like put it in my pocket.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The rules, by the way, are you need to spend 8 minus your humanity in blood points to appear human for a scene. So that's just it. There's no roll to be made. So if anyone wants to drink their coffee or eat their pie and not immediately start vomiting up blood, I would suggest that they do that. So it's 8 minus your humanity in blood points, which I think won't be too bad for most of the people who did pick to do it. So Fen is clearly trying to find another way around it. Cole and Joan, I believe you're drinking coffee. How much blood is that for you guys to spend?
Just one for Joan. I think she will nurse that coffee like over
Sure.
quite a while.
Yeah.
She's not in any rush. It'll be the tiniest little sips. It's very much more of a prop than anything else. But I think after a point she will say, "So who are we meeting?"
Before Diamond responds, how does Cole handle that coffee?
Cole wasn't intending on drinking it, but he burns the 2 blood to drink it.
Sure.
With an amount of sugar in it.
As for Fen, Fen, can you please give us a dexterity plus subterfuge roll to see how you do in hiding that pie in your pockets?
I can.
The most vampire roll there is.
Dexterity plus subterfuge. Okay, the problem is my PDF reader has just gone black like totally black screen for a second, which was making that tricky. But now I can see it. Dexterity plus what was it? Sorry,
subterfuge. It's under talents, and I think that's going to be difficulty 7. It's quite well lit, but also no one's watching you. So
no subterfuge. My dexterity is 3.
Okay.
And like my ability to move without people spotting me is not helping me in this case.
No, because you're not kind of vanished. So
okay, I got a 1, a 5, and a 2, which none of those are successes, and there is a 1.
Yep, you just botched, my friend. So Fen, I'm going to say that you kind of have, like you say, you were trying to put the pie in your pockets. You just missed the pocket, and the pie kind of splats to the ground with a very audible sort of thing as you look down. Let me. I don't want to make a roll for Marshall to see if he notices it. I'll make like a fortune roll. I think kind of adjudicates it for you.
I will kind of, as I hear like that, I will like look briefly at Diamond with a sort of vaguely panicked look in my eye, and then I will like hastily grab the little little napkins and like reach down
Go
to try
clean
and like scoop it up and like making even more of a mess of my hands and then try to wipe them off. And it's
you've just got absolutely and you know what, Inga mentioned chocolate pie in the chat, so we'll make it chocolate pie as well. And you just got hands, kind of sticky, horrible hands covered in this stuff. Diamond has looked at you with a kind of a raised eyebrow and an exhausted expression, but he hasn't said anything. And you're fairly sure that Marshall, who's just kind of like whistling and sweeping through the diner with his brush again, kind of hasn't noticed. So there we go. Joan. Now, so you said who are we waiting for? Is that right?
Yeah, and her expression probably exactly matches Diamond's at Ben. Like, you probably like look up and see both of us just giving you the exact same expression.
Look down and keep trying to wipe the stuff off.
Cole's just sort of tactfully not looking at Fen.
Probably for the best. Diamond just kind of drags his eyes away from Fen and says, "Police." Takes another sip. Is anyone else saying anything or bringing anything up for what I'd say is another 5 minutes?
I would ordinarily, but no.
Maybe it's quiet time for Fen.
The prince said, and you also intimated it's been a busy night tonight. Anything we need to know about the other events of the evening in case it becomes relevant for this hunt?
He kind of seems to pause and think about this for a second and slowly shakes his head and says, as far as I can tell, I do not think any of the other incidents in the city today are related. But to be fair, I don't have all the information on those occurrences yet.
Even knowing where things have happened, anywhere we should avoid. We don't want to mess up somebody else's investigations.
Manufacturing plant went boom to the north of the city. You can't miss it. You won't stumble on it. You'll see it from blocks away. One of the libraries in the city centre was gutted by a fire during daylight. Again, fire crews. You won't stumble on it. You can't miss it. Pillars of smoke. So on, so forth. That it happened during daylight means it isn't our guy. I'm assuming.
Fires then.
One looks like arson, the other was an explosion. Like I say, don't think it's our guy. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. I'd operate on that assumption.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea who our guy is?
No. At that point, someone else walks through the door. It has like a sort of little jazzy jingle when someone walks in, like a little bell tinkles. And that person kind of rounds the end of the booths and walks directly towards where you're sat. She is a striking woman in her 50s with pinned back blonde hair in a plain business suit. She comes straight to the booth and sits straight down. As she does so, Diamond indicates to her and says, "Detective Vincent, a member of our organization," he says, with his eyes flicking briefly to Marshall, who's maybe close enough to hear, maybe not. Vincent kind of looks around at each of you and gives you each a curt nod, but doesn't seem particularly interested in you.
Pleasure.
All right. He reaches inside, he's carried a jacket in, which he hasn't been wearing, but he reaches inside it and pulls out what seems to be a printed screenshot of the man from the recording and passes it, just puts it on the center of the table and pushes it forward for anyone to take. That's the man. Vincent will start looking for a trail with security cameras, police reports, in the hours leading up to it. You can check in with her via a phone number. At this, Vincent kind of takes out a card and places it on top of the screenshot. Also, he reaches into the jacket again and pulls out 4 pages. We're getting real 90s now. This is set in 1995, by the way, folks, in case you were wondering. Pushes forward the 4 pages to the center and says, "She can contact you on these. So can I."
I take one.
Any more questions?
Can we contact each other on them?
No.
Right. So, is there anything in particular? Is there anything in particular that you want us to be doing while you're off investigating?
I'm not investigating this. I don't have time. That's what you're doing.
Sorry. Well, Detective Vincent is. I'll address her, I guess.
I would advise you to use your own contacts as a place to start. This guy hasn't come out of nowhere. He's kindred, we know that.
Sure.
He's in the city. Someone must have seen him, interacted with him, done something.
Okay.
Something so odd and shockingly violent is unlikely to have had no cause and no precedent. He'll have left a trail. I would also advise that if you want potential further support and you want to keep the prince happy, reporting into him at the art museum by the middle of the night would be a good move. Solving this one way or another tonight would make you look very good indeed to Prince and Primogen, and would deflect any suspicion from rumor mongers who might want to pin the incident on you.
Got it.
Anything else?
Is this how serious a hunt is this? As in,
If he has to die, he has to die.
right?
We don't have time to mess around at the moment. There's too much going on. If you can bring him back in for questioning, sure. If you can't, that's fine too.
Right.
Whether he comes back for questioning or not, are there any answers you want before we deal with him?
Why did he do it?
Right.
If you can find out what pushed him to it, that would be good. Who he is maybe doesn't matter so much. He's clearly no one important if we don't recognize him. All right.
Got
There's
it.
other things need my attention. He kind of grabs his jacket, stands up, throws plenty of money on the table, more than enough for like the coffee and pie that was ordered by people. I'll page you if I need you. He waits for whoever is on the other side of his booth to remove themselves and goes to walk out.
Does Vincent stay?
Vincent kind of looks around at you all and says, "Is there anything you want?"
How long do you think would you estimate it'll take before we hear back from you about tracing?
At least a couple of hours. Midnight, maybe.
All right.
Right. That's good talking.
She stands up, having had nothing to eat or drink, and says, "Good luck."
One question.
One.
If we run into any of yours, if we get into trouble with your authorities, do we get any help?
Depends what the trouble is.
All right.
The easy answer is don't get into no trouble.
That's usually the answer.
All right. Keep those pages on you. She also walks out. Marshall is still there, kind of sweeping away.
With a sticky hand, I put my pager in my pocket.
Joan definitely has a little clip for a pager on her belt. On her pants.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
Fen, go wash your hands.
There are some toilets you could go in.
Good
I
point.
think once the others are out, and Marshall is far away enough that it could, at least in a hushed tone, kind of speak without being heard. Whether Fen's there or not, I think, especially to Cole and Talia. I think Joan will ask. So if he's not known by the prince or the sheriff, but he's in town, he's got to be involved with your anarchist lot. Did you recognize him?
No.
Do you know someone
Also,
who might?
They're not my lot. There's a lot of them. And he could be new. Maybe he just walked into the city yesterday.
Plus,
I mean, I can ask.
He
Sorry,
didn't look
Natalia.
the best for wear. I reckon we should probably start with Fen's lot.
As you say this, I'm sort of coming back. You want me to talk to my people? Okay. I guess
You don't necessarily need to talk to them, but I know that if I was going to ground, the first place I'd go is the sewers.
Right. Well, I'll give it a shot. Where is the where would I find, for example, Mother Mary or someone?
I mean, the Mother Mary's a Nosferatu primogen. She would typically be found in the Nosferatu warrens under the city. You are for sure aware that both Prince and Sheriff have said that Primogen are real busy right now.
So she's not
that doesn't mean you can't go looking for her, whatever. If she's not in the warrens, if she's not in the warrens, then you do not know where to find her. Like, you definitely don't know where to go to find the Primogen at work. Having said that, it would be very unusual for the Primogen not to attend something like Elysium at the Art Museum later tonight, but that is later. You also are familiar with ways to contact the Frog Boys, who we have mentioned a couple of times, and are a trio of Nosferatu information brokers. However, it's always through a series of dead drops, answering machines in empty buildings, Like, they're not people who you can just call and get immediately in touch with. You basically flag up that you want to talk to them, and then they talk to you when they want to talk to you.
I like, the thought of the contacting Mother Mary crosses my mind, and I'm like, no, she's gonna be too busy. And then you can sort of see Fen kind of sag a little bit and be like, oh, I'll try and get in contact with the frog boys.
Well,
They sound delightful.
While you set up that contact, it might be that the best place for us to go to start off with is back to the scene of the crime.
No. Yeah. Okay.
Because that doesn't sound like it's going to be quick to set up.
Yeah, I'll do it on the way.
Sorry, if I can briefly retcon something, I read out a list of things that I wanted Diamond to say, and then I forgot one of them. And that one of them was he would encourage you not to return to the scene of the massacre.
Okay.
Well,
so let's go there.
Doesn't mean you can't.
Let's dissipate him.
Look, this doesn't seem like an act of rebellion. So I don't think this is my lot, if you want. But I mean, there are places where we go that isn't Elysium so much. Maybe if we go to some, have you ever been to the Dirty Deeds? Natalia, I've taken you into the Dirty Deeds.
Dirty Deeds is an Anak bar. Anyone with any association with the Annex whatsoever will probably have been to Dirty Deeds.
I have never been to Dirty Deeds.
Dirty Deeds. Someone there will know someone who knows something. That's what happens at the Dirty Deeds.
Would I be welcome there, or is this just for you and Nat?
Everyone's welcome.
Yeah, like if you're like a Ventru lackey and you go in there, you might get the shit kicked out of you. But like, it's mortals go there. It's not just like
I look at Joan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like when you say anyone can go there, I might arch an eyebrow at you. And
I'll probably say like, yeah, anyone's welcome, and then I'll pause and I'll just go, Joan, you might want to take off your like blazer, like just scruff yourself up a little bit. You'll stand out.
For what it's worth,
take off the blazer and you'll see like it's like shirt tucked into pants and everything.
For what it's worth, Cole, you're fairly certain that if Joan went to Dirty Deeds in your company, like they've got no reason to want to attack Joan, and you're fairly trusted by the Annex. You're fairly sure that it would be perfectly safe.
Joan will be fine.
Physically, maybe not emotionally.
Well, maybe she needs a little bit of a shock.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go.
Okay. Can we? One thing I would propose though, Inga, unless you're about to leap in with some suggestions, I would like Joan to take an intelligence plus investigation roll.
Sure. Wherever.
With the dead drops, is it possible that I can do that on the way to wherever we're going?
It absolutely is. The frog boys have dead drops everywhere, or you can just make a call to one of their answering machines from like a public payphone or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do
What's the success on this one? I think I'm probably fine because I've got
it's standard 6s.
Okay, yeah, I've got 3 successes after.
Absolutely. So a couple of things occur to you. Number one is you have a very capable ghoul called Eamon, who is back at the Chantry and would undoubtedly be a help whatever is going to happen. So it might be worth swinging by, picking him up. The other thing is that while your Chantry head Fuchs is part of the Primogen and is unhelpful most of the time anyway, there is at least one other kindred at the observatory who's always very friendly and seems very well connected. So he could be a possibility of someone to talk to.
Yeah. Would I likely find Eamon at the Chantry at this point? So
Yeah, they'll both be at the Chantry.
Yeah, cool.
Like a video game, they're all in one place.
Do in terms of locations around Cincinnati and where we are at the moment, if we're heading to Dirty Deeds, is the Chantry like way out the way? Is it sort of vaguely en route? Or
While I have got the geography of Cincinnati in my head, because this is like a 4-session arc, and I'm aware that it's like nice if you think, oh well, let's make. I would not ask that kind of thing. Not under any. It's just because otherwise we'll end up, optimizing and stuff rather than just going with the flow. For the purposes of interest, Dirty Deeds would be on the way to the Chantry. But if you as a group feel like the Chantry is best, like, oh, maybe we'll get the Ghoul and he might be able to help us there or whatever, just go wherever you want to go, and we'll gloss over the travel times here, folks.
We can fast travel to the Chantry hub. That's what you're
sure.
saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, I might feel more comfortable in this Dirty Deeds place if I've got Eamon with me. Can we swing by the Chantry and pick him up? He'll be helpful.
I've never been to the Chantry.
Sure, there's a space available in the car.
Yeah.
Is there a space available in the car?
There'll be 3 seats in the back, so
Yeah.
it'll be a squeeze, but yeah.
You know, I wash my hands. I'm not too sticky.
So is the general consensus we're going to swing by the Chantry. Eamon is there. Potentially another person to talk to is there, and then we're going to go to Dirty Deeds. And somewhere along that way, Fen is going to. What are you going to do? Are you going to leave like a dead drop in some random place? Are you going to call one of their answer phones? What are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to call the answer phone.
Okay. You know what? Let's say there's a payphone directly outside the Spindrift Diner. Kind of Marshall waves a cheery and kind of slightly dreamy farewell to the 4 of you as you leave. And as you're getting kind of the Cadillac ready to roll, Fen, you walk over to that public phone and you pick it up. You ring. It rings for maybe 3 or 4 times. And then it cuts to an answering machine, and a voice on the other end of it says, "Leave a message." Beep.
It's me. We need to talk. The usual place. I need some information. Please, can we just have a normal conversation? Oh, God damn it. Okay. I hope you guys appreciate what I'm doing.
I like the idea that you the 3 are already in the Cadillac and you're like looking around and realizing.
You guys. Okay.
Poor Fen. Okay.
Just before we get going, what is the potential likelihood of Natalia having a police scanner?
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I can. I can say. Let's make a roll for it, right? And we'll see if you've managed to. If maybe you have one, but you haven't figured out how it works or whatever. Let's have a. Shall we say an intelligence plus technology roll?
Sure.
And I'll make it quite difficult because I think quite difficult. So let's make it an 8. And let's see how we do there.
Okay, right. 1 success gets cancelled out, but I still have 1 left over. So
you have 1 success. So for that, you know what I'm going to judge? I'm going to say you do, and you've got a vague idea how it works, but it's at your haven. Not cool. In the car yet. No but worries. It is there as a resource to you, but you'll have to go get it at some point.
Sweet.
How about that? Okay. So we're all getting in the Cadillac and speeding off through the night of Cincinnati. And again, if anyone kind of turns on the radio, all the local news is talking about the library fire, the manufacturing plant explosion. No one is talking about a gas station massacre, which is probably a relief. And as you drive through again to the kind of more luxurious and well-to-do eastern side of the city, you are driving to an area called Mount Lookout, I believe. I have written this, so I should know. Yes, Mount Lookout. The observatory that makes up the Tremere Chantry is in the middle of a park, and you kind of pull up nearby it and walk through the quiet stillness of the park in the middle of the night. Very few people around, and it's quite a gentrified area, so there's not kind of too much potential trouble for you to stumble across. The observatory itself is actually open to the public at this time of night, and there are little like groups of people going in and out, but they're not going into the chantry because the chantry itself is beneath the observatory in the tunnels and rooms and laboratories beneath it that have been there for a very long time now and are mostly populated by the Tremere and their ghouls. It's perfectly fine to bring these individuals into like the guest chambers of the observatory underneath, and as you kind of like but avoid the kind of people that the public wandering around the public area of the observatory, and kind of go into that kind of backstage area and then down a set of metal stairs to the stone and metal tunnels underneath, where every footstep draws a kind of loud echoing clank as you're walking forwards in these expansive neon lit areas. And like a lot of chantries have a kind of like theatrical or magical feel to them. The Cincinnati Observatory does not. It is relentlessly scientific as you walk past several ghouls, some of them even in kind of lab coat gear. You eventually walk into a large room that kind of filters some of the data and the images from the observatory above down below for people to browse and look at. There's no sign of Fugues, the chantry head. There's a couple of ghouls wandering around, and over kind of tapping away on a computer, you see one of the other kindred who live here at the chantry, Gildersleeve. He is kind of tapping away with some interest, his face kind of lit with that sort of basic computer black and green light, as most of the lights are turned down low. Eamon, your ghoul, is sat in a chair near him, looking very bored as Gildersleeve is talking about astronomy, as he does most of the time. But he's quite a friendly individual.
Oh, Gildersleeve, I was actually hoping I might run into you while I was here.
I'm sorry, Joan. One moment. Yes, I knew it was. He's kind of got a little pad open in front of him, and he kind of scribbles down some details in, and then kind of swivels his chair to look at you. He is a slender individual, kind of looking older, with a grey, kind of like well cropped but slightly bushy beard and a well combed grey hair. He's wearing again a grey kind of pinstripe suit, and he looks like quite a gentlemanly individual. And he spins his chair towards you and stands up and says, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. I just excellent results tonight. Are these your friends?"
Yes. And I won't bother to introduce them. We have we're doing some work for the sheriff, and there's been a bit of trouble that we're investigating for him. Do we still have that printout of the that was left for us rather than for Detective Vincent?
You absolutely do, yeah.
We're looking for this man, Kindred.
Let me my glasses on. He reaches out of his jacket pocket, puts some kind of thin wire-frame glasses, quite old-fashioned looking ones, in his face, and goes, "I see. It looks quite a handsome gentleman, but I don't think I've ever seen this man before, I'm afraid. What on earth did he do?"
Breach the Masquerade.
Oh, that won't do at all. Have you informed the Diamond, the sheriff, of these things?
Yes. We're carrying on investigations on his behalf. We've got somebody who's looking into trying to trace this man. I take it you don't recognize him, but the particularly unusual thing was that he was the catalyst for his attack. Seemed to be some sort of chant that all of the people who he attacked all spoke in unison. to him.
Some form of supernatural occurrence, spells, magic, blood sorcery of some kind?
It certainly seems to be something unusual along those lines. I was hoping you might recognize.
Sorcery and magics and these things, let alone blood magic, is something quite. You may have to ask a member of your clan about that, I'm afraid. Certainly, Professor Fuchs may know something, but I think she's rather busy tonight.
Yes. Anybody else who might be worth asking about, or anywhere else?
People who know people. I'm so terribly sorry. I have forgotten your name. I know we've met a number of times before. You're a member of your clan. Honesty. She knows a lot of people. He's
Yes,
talking to Cole here.
She's our next stop. So
yes. If you have anyone who you'd like to get in touch with, I may be able to dig up a number or an address or this kind of thing. But without knowing who this man's associates are, I'm afraid I may be of limited help.
All right. Well, thank you anyway, Gildersleeve.
Yes. Do be careful out there tonight. There do seem to be odd things happening, and discrepancies all week. I've spoken of this. I can't be doing with them, but odd miscalculations in the motion of the heavens, an alignment of five stars together. They form a single bright piercing light, a light that could spirit you away if you stared long enough into it.
I sort of nudge Natalia and I'm like, get a look at this guy.
Gildersleeve, maybe don't stare up at the skies too much then.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. But do be careful.
Of course. You were speaking with my Eamon here. I'm going to need to borrow him away this evening. Hopefully that doesn't disrupt.
Oh, that's fine. I just had this wonderful young man doing some brief calculations for me while my attention was distracted. But absolutely, you go out into the city, much more exciting than another night in the observatory, I'm sure.
Thank you again, Gildersleeve. Helpful as always.
I try.
Eamon, maybe a little more action for you this evening than you thought. Come on.
Eamon is a young, good-looking man. He's got kind of like sort of tufty black hair, and is wearing sort of like a dark, quite similar to the prince in an odd way, like a dark suit, casual suit with no jacket and tie. And he stands up and kind of hefts the jacket as he does so, puts it on. Anyone who's paying any attention will notice that there is a rather large pistol slung in one side of that jacket, and he'll sort of nod and go, all right.
Protection this evening, please.
Can do. Consider Eamon to be there whenever required. He is hovering as an NPC in the background.
Yeah, I imagine sort of like just behind me, bodyguard style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something has only just occurred to me. There isn't... Dirty Deeds wouldn't have any particular problems with a ghoul being there, would they?
No, there's loads of ghouls there.
Okay.
The population of Dirty Deeds at any one time is probably like a third kindred, a third ghouls, and a third mortals. So
that's fair enough.
For a second there, I thought you were going to be like, Dirty Deeds wouldn't have a problem with like him carrying a weapon in there, but you're like, no, of course, it's America.
No, it really wouldn't.
With,
yeah. No, you probably the four of you may be the only other people in Dirty Deeds without a weapon. So, we've never really talked about whether you have weapons or what. If you have the appropriate resources, it's cool to have a weapon you might think you have, but
I have a strong grip.
I'm fine to cover that when you need it. It's fine.
Joan has Eamon.
Yeah. So, anything else at the observatory? Or are we happy to move on to Dirty Deeds?
Happy to move on, yeah. Thank you for the detour. On we go.
Okay. So
I'm just going to comment to Joan how unsurprisingly creepy that place was.
You do get all sorts there.
It's worth noting, I mean, Joan already knows how unusual this is, and you probably haven't managed to do too much digging on it yet. But in fact, go ahead. Why don't we have a roll from everyone else? Why doesn't everyone else have a wits plus occult roll? How about that? And let's say the difficulty of that is 8.
That's 2 successes for me.
I rolled 10-10, so that's...
1 success.
Okay, that's enough for all of you. All of you are experienced enough in Vampire Society to know that it's real weird that someone who seems to have not been a Tremere lives in the Tremere Chantry. He did seem to intimate he was not of Clan Tremere in that he referred to Joan as your clan. Just odd, that's all.
Pretty weird.
So, on. We're leaving the Mount Lookout Observatory and we are going back towards the city centre, almost in central downtown Cincinnati, in an area called Over the Rhine, named for its proximity to a canal and the German heritage of many of the people who lived there in the 19th and 20th centuries. Along a street of tumble-down apartment blocks and cheap discount stores, Dirty Deeds sits with its orange neon sight glaring out onto a street, mostly covered in kind of littered, parked up, battered old cars and a few unfortunate people wandering around either without a home or with an addiction or various other kinds of life affliction. The not so distant sound of sirens is blaring as the coterie departs from their somewhat expensive looking vehicle and proceeds at a walk towards Dirty Deeds, which has a couple of hefty individuals acting as bouncers in front of it in classic biker gear, all leather waistcoats and long gnarled hair.
I looked at Cole.
I will approach the entrance and give the bouncers a nod and walk right through.
Sure.
As
Yeah,
I usually
the
do.
bouncers look at you and they just nod as you approach. They also nod to Natalia, who I would assume has been here a number of times as well.
Yeah.
Okay. After they've both gone in, I will attempt to do the same.
Sure. They don't step in your way or anything like that, and they let you past. But one of them just mutters under his breath, "Just don't let anyone see you, freak."
Sure. I'm using unseen presence if at all possible, but if not,
It's very dark in there, and you absolutely can use unseen presence. I don't think there's no roll for that, is there? There's just a roll if you do something.
If I make a noise, you can.
Sure. Yeah, as you're passing through the door, and it's like there's a dark, there's a little room before you actually reach the main bar, and as you're passing through there, you can kind of melt into the shadows and proceed in unseen. Absolutely. Joan and Eamon are the last to go through.
Yep. I will not try and rough myself up a bit. If anything, I will back straighter and try. Yeah. Even worse than before.
As you walk through, they make no move to bar your entrance because you're very obviously with the others. You've approached with them, but they do both regard you with sort of slightly suspicious glares, which, if anything, intensify when Eamon shoots them a sort of like a casual little grin as he walks in behind you.
I pay them no heed.
Sure. So you're inside Dirty Deeds. It's a rather large bar. There's a lot of seating, but a low roof with a couple of kind of big, spinning fans running and not a lot of light. What light there is from sort of old-fashioned sort of stained glass or stained glass like lanterns that are like, just placed around in various areas, kind of like old 60s, 70s vibe ones. Everything is decked out in wood coated with decades of alcohol and worse. There are several, there's an area with several pool tables that has a number of sort of alternative college students slumming it around by them. There's a small low stage on one side of the room opposite the bar from which a punk band seems to be packing down their equipment, and there is a loud and raucous poker game going on in one corner. But other than that, there's not too many people here tonight, remarkably few. Only a few other patrons scattered around as solitary bikers and drinkers who are eyeing everyone with a mixture of curiosity and surliness. Behind the bar is a individual who I would say probably everyone at this point, maybe not Joan, but most of the kindred in the city know her and know her well. She's called Honesty, and she's sort of one of those people who everyone knows, everyone quite likes, and is a very handy person to go to for any issue or rumor or things of this nature. She appears to be a young woman in her late 20s, Latina with sort of a white t-shirt with some kind of obscure band logo on it, a plaid jacket wrapped around her waist, and and this is where I want to say a beanie, but you know what? I don't think people particularly wore beanies in the mid-90s, thinking back on it. So I'm going to say she's wearing a Bengals baseball cap.
There's some immersion right there.
There we go. And she's kind of cleaning out a glass and just idly looking up at a TV in the corner, which is playing, and I'm sure you can guess by now, the local news. It's what everyone is watching tonight.
Is, from doing a quick survey of the room, does the proportion seem slightly light on kindred tonight?
You know what? It does. You don't reckon, you have a suspicion that maybe one or two of the patrons are kindred, but you don't see anyone you know, and you certainly don't see any of the significant Anak movers and shakers.
Interesting. Okay. I will head to the bar to talk to Honesty and say, seems like a quiet night tonight. For you, at least.
She kind of glances over. Indeed, quiet. She, usually she has a couple of other people working the bar. She glances over and says, "Quiet night. What are you doing here?"
Looking for you.
Should I be worried?
No, don't worry. You got a minute?
I've always got a minute.
I'll head to the storeroom that the quiet conversations always happen in.
Sure, absolutely. Is everyone else kind of like following along, or are you lurking at the bar,
I'll nod to the group to follow along if they want.
I'll continue in silence, trying to maintain. But I will, follow.
Sure. As Honesty kind of comes out from behind the bar, she sort of whistles loudly at someone who's kind of like scrubbing the stage clean after the punk band have been all over it. And he kind of turns around and sort of seems to goes and fiddles with the jukebox, which couldn't be more different from the one in the Spindrift Diner. And it starts blasting out Black Flag at bottle rattling volumes. She steps into the back room, which is full of kind of crates and boxes and not much else, and sort of attempts to close the door behind you all, but it just kind of like bangs on its hinges and goes out. You're pretty sure no one out there can hear you in here, because all they can hear is Henry Rollins screaming at high volume. She leans against the box and shrugs and says, "So what's going on?"
Someone's been causing problems, and if we don't find them, we'll get fingered for it. Have you had anyone new in the bar recently?
There are always new people in the bar.
Anyone that looks like this?
She takes the screen print off you and kind of pores over it, obviously kind of paying close attention to it for 30 seconds or so. Yeah, I've seen this guy. She hands it back.
Are you... I know asking you to divulge all of your secrets is not going to get me anywhere, honesty, but is there any chance you can point me where to find them?
Come on, Cole, at least tell me who you're doing this for.
I mean, at the moment, I'm doing it for me. Apparently, I'm doing it for the city.
Primogen?
It's been a busy night. It's gone higher than that.
I mean, I'm assuming you mean Ludlow, but you think he's higher? Whatever. All right. But the usual, none of this gets back to me. I've got this place. I don't want his goons running over it.
Yeah. Don't worry about that, honesty.
Okay. Look, I've seen this guy around a few times. Usually sitting with shaky people, talking about shaky business. But he turns up last night, looking different, flustered, pale. He asks about Onyx. He asks for Mox by name.
Okay.
I'm pretty reluctant to pass that on. But then he puts $1,000 bill on my bar. I figure it's his funeral, and I tell him where he can find Mox. I haven't seen him since. Assume he either got what he wanted, or Mox got a meal.
Was he a big spender before that night?
Nope. I mean, obviously a rich kid. Coming in a suit, fancy coat. But, we get them time to time. He's talking to dealers. He's talking to some undercover cops.
Huh. Any idea who he belonged to?
Nope. And I didn't ask.
All right.
It's worth noting at this point, by the way, and it's entirely up to you folks whether you know. I would say you probably do, with the possible exception of Joan again. Mox is the leader of the city's annex. He has a reputation.
Well, he obviously survived meeting Mox. Right. Thank you, honesty.
I mean, I'm assuming you've got another question for me? Yeah, I mean, if you want this guy, and I send him to Mox, you want to know where Mox is, right?
Yeah. Please tell me he's not in the middle of whatever is going on elsewhere in the city.
No, he's too busy for that tonight.
What's he up to?
He's up in Walnut Hills, Eden Park. There's a rant going down.
Right.
You must be on the outs if you weren't invited.
I'd like to say I had other plans, but...
You've been speaking to one too many blue bloods? Getting Mox all riled up at you?
For Mox's taste, any blue bloods is too many. But he knows that's what I do. Because he won't.
Yeah. Well, like I say, Eden Park, look for the wolf statue. But you'll hear them before you see them.
Thanks.
It's okay. You taking her?
I'm guessing she's indicating towards Joan.
Mm-hmm.
I think she can probably stay in the car. Like, give Joan a look.
She won't say anything, but will be very tight-lipped and clearly looking quite severe about this.
Trust me, Joan, you don't want to go.
Hey, maybe it'll be an experience for you. Mox won't like it if you hold someone back.
Mox won't like it whatever I do.
There's truth there. Go on. Get out of my bar.
I will
I'll
very
head out.
silent. Yeah. I'm just trying to maintain my obfuscate by being
Sure,
silent.
you're kind of like lurking somewhere. Just,
Are you literally doing the
I mean,
Nosferatu pose?
not deliberately, but
helps
Look.
to focus, right?
yeah.
Just something there.
Just accidentally fall into it every now and then.
Well,
Yeah.
I was imagining like propped up, like hands on the thing.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
there's stuff
Yeah.
to fiddle around with. Look, I don't need to explain myself to you.
So, Honesty kind of nudges open the door to the storeroom and pats you in a kind of, encouraging, don't worry about it fashion, you being Cole on your shoulder. And like, yeah, she's not actually kicking you out. She's very friendly. It's just,
We have places to
you
be.
Yeah, I imagine it's an affectionate get the hell out of here.
yeah, exactly. Spot on.
Is that a get the hell out of this like secret storeroom, or is it a get the hell out of the bar entirely?
She said the bar, but she doesn't really mean it. Like, she's just like, clearly you have business to do.
We
she's
do.
just being playfully aggressive. So, do we want, like, you can head straight to the rant at Eden Park. You can go another place where you might want, or do we want to hang? Do you want to hang around the Dirty Deeds and talk for a moment, or what are we doing here?
I'm heading out. I don't like this place. They were judgmental of me, and while Joan was clearly unaffected by the mean words of the bouncer, I have thin skin.
Sure.
Can we even see Fen? Can we see Fen leaving?
No, none of you can see Fen. No,
No.
not unless you're intentionally looking for him with Auspex.
I'll just sort of like you'll
So
just
Fen-
sort of hear the door like swinging.
Sure, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
As you exit Dirty Deeds and kind of walk back down the street towards your car, there is a public payphone just outside of Dirty Deeds, and as you walk past, it starts ringing. Also, someone in private chat wrote a note to self, ask the bouncers as we leave.
Yeah, I was trying to figure whether that's still relevant, but
Okay.
I might as well.
Sure,
We're
go
on the
ahead.
way
Well, why
out.
don't we do that, and then we'll deal with the payphone if we want to deal with the payphone at all.
Okay.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll head up to the bouncers. I imagine they're like semi-regular bouncers.
Yeah, they are.
I
You
know.
recognize them. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get the printout out and wave it at them and say, either of you two recognize this guy?
Yeah, I seen him. You asked Honesty.
Yeah.
What'd she tell you?
Told me that he spent some time talking to some interesting types.
Yeah. Dealers and few people. Yeah, he was here a few times.
anyone any of his friends in the bar now?
No, not tonight. All mortals too. No kindred.
Okay.
Could I be there as well? Just like,
Mhm.
yeah, because at that point I'd probably pipe up and just say, do you know which direction he went, or if he parked up here?
Never parked. I saw him get out of a cab once.
Okay.
Never parked up. Don't know where he went after. Sorry.
Do you know what cab company it was?
Yeah, sure. He let's just call it Queen City Cabs. How about that?
Okay, cool. And then yeah, I'll just ask for like when it was roughly.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I'll just quickly note it down.
I'd say they can't give you like a firm date. They're like 2 months ago, something like that. You know, like not too helpful, but
Sure. Okay, cool. That's fine. I'll just make a note of it.
sure. So retreating to this Cadillac, the payphone nearby starts ringing. Are we paying any? Are we just assuming it's nothing? You know,
Like, I think I assume that it's I sigh and walk over to it and answer the payphone. Hello.
hello.
Hi. Yeah. How's it going?
Good.
Look, can we? Okay.
Had any auditions lately?
Yeah, none. Yeah, no auditions.
Oh.
You have to ask, don't you? Okay. Look, I could do with some info if you know anything. And I'm willing to trade.
What you want to know?
You don't. It'll be easier if I could show you a picture of the guy I'm trying to talk about, but you know, I will. Oh, God, I really don't like those guys. I hang up the payphone. Yeah, we got a meeting too.
Okay. Is the next thing we're doing going to the rant at Eden Park? For anyone who doesn't know, a rant is a Anik. It's kind of like Anik Elysium. You know, it's where all the Aniks gather to something. I can't think of the verb. But, you know, to gather and shout a lot and argue and occasionally fight. And is that our next port of call?
Well, would my haven be on the way at all?
Yeah, let's say yes. I can imagine your haven being in this kind of slightly dingy area of downtown Cincinnati.
Sounds very much like the neighborhood that I live in, anyway.
Absolutely, you can swing by your haven, which I think we discussed is like a dilapidated, like flat in
It's
like
like
partially.
It's like a disused apartment block, as in no one legally lives there.
Exactly, and you've got like maybe an apartment layer to yourself or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. You can go then. You know what? You can pick up that police scanner while you do so. Absolutely.
Cool.
As soon as we're in the car from heading out again, Joan will make a point of saying, "I told you you're not involved with all of this. What do you think this box is playing at?"
I have never have any idea what Mox is playing at. No one does. I still feel, Joan, like you're jumping to conclusions. Like, the man went to the dirty deeds because there were mortals there that he wanted to talk to. Just because he wanted to talk to Mox the night before that doesn't make this some sort of anarch ploy.
It doesn't mean they're not involved, though.
No. But there's involved and then there's involved. And
Well,
maybe...
according to honesty, you're maybe not as involved as others these days. You might be a little out of the loop on what's going on.
I never said I wasn't.
But by
These
the
things,
way,
they come, they go, you fall in and out of favor. Next week, they'll change their mind and invite me to everything. Week after that, they'll hate me because I'm a class traitor. It doesn't matter.
by the way, sorry to interrupt. How likely are we to be attacked on sight when we see marks? Just, judging by your previous experiences with the man.
That is a number of dice rolls decided by someone who is not me, Fen.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's that bad. Right. Brilliant. Okay. Let me just get in the car.
So you swing by to Natalia's Haven, pick up that police scanner, and then you're on your way. It's not far to Walnut Hills, which is another very pleasant sounding place in Cincinnati, which is not that pleasant. From what I can tell, sorry if you live there. It's not an upmarket area of Cincinnati. And in the world of darkness, that lack of upmarketness is devolved further into, a not at all pleasant place. And you find yourself at Eden Park, which in our world seems quite pleasant. In the world of darkness, not so much. A rather rambling and overgrown park that you can park up by and make your way into. Even from the roadside here, further into the park, you can hear like the distant noise that sounds like engines roaring and tinny, distorted music and a number of voices.
As we pull up, I will turn around in my seat and face Joan and Eamon and say, it's up to you, Joan.
She's already reaching for the door handle as you're saying that.
But he should probably stay.
Are you kidding?
It would undoubtedly be less safe for him than for you. There's no rule against killing him.
Mortals and ghouls are different rules.
Fair game. Oh, man.
Mox is very no gods, no kings, no masters.
Fine. Wait here, Eamon.
You're muted, Matt.
Maybe you can drive the car around the block.
Eamon in the kind of seat next to you looks at you and says, are you sure, mistress?
Yes.
Okay. He holds out his pistol.
I'll take it. I have no points in anything firearmy, but I will take it.
He looks over at you, Fen, and says, do you want me to move the car?
Yeah, might be a good idea. Hey, John, you're looking a little unfamiliar with that. I might be able to make better use of it if you want. We did a bit of
It's not for her, it's for you.
Oh,
sorry, it's the other way around. It's not for you, it's for her.
Okay. Fair dues. That's reasonable.
How about I move the car if I see anyone paying any attention?
Yeah, sounds like a good plan.
All right.
I'm just going to lean into the window after I close the door and he's in the driver's seat and pass him the keys and just say, I'd move it anyway. Just keep on the move.
Okay.
Feel free to put the radio on. Chill out.
It's notable, by the way, that his interactions with all of you were very pleasant and genial, except the moment Fen looked like he was going to take a weapon off Joan, at which point his attitude basically went for 0 to attack dog.
Yeah, I got that sense.
So you've left the car and you're making your way through Eden Park. Honesty told you to head for the wolf statue, which maybe some of you have seen before. But either way, as she said, you don't need to know the way to the wolf statue to find the rant. It is loud and boisterous, and as you approach the sound through the pathways and slightly disheveled kind of cobblestones of Eden Park, you can hear the sound of someone patiently but futilely trying to talk about the principles of anarchism and being drowned out by boos and jeers. You can hear bikes with their motors running, and as you round a corner onto a spread of individuals, you don't know exactly how many to count, maybe 20 to 30 or so, and maybe more in the shadows of the trees nearby. The scene itself is lit by the headlights of the bikes and not much else, and a boombox is blasting thrash metal rendered almost unrecognizable by the noise of the crowd and the low quality of a 20th hand cassette tape rip. As you approach, you can see that a lot of the lights are kind of fixated on the wolf statue, which is sort of like a large stylized wolf with 2 children underneath it suckling at its teats. I'll leave it up to you guys. We had an academics roll for significance of things before. If you feel your character would know the significance of that image, it's entirely up to you. As you walk a bit closer, individuals who you hadn't noticed before kind of walk out of the shadows of the trees on either side and kind of stand watching your approach. Who is at the forefront of the group?
I'll be leading.
Okay. As you approach one of the figures, a woman who you've seen a few times at rants before, you think she's kindred, you think she's an Anak. She kind of steps forward and says, "Cole, I know her. I can't even tell with that guy. Are they with you?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
All right.
How's the crowd tonight?
Excited.
Good.
You shouldn't be worried about them. I just hope he's in a good mood."
Thanks.
Go on.
I'll head on past.
As Joan, as you walk past the annex, she kind of looks you up and down like you're. Did we say, are you like in a kind of suit or more a kind of like a kind of a business dress thing? Like what's?
Yeah, like pantsuit business.
Sure,
business
yeah.
attire. Although I think after that, as we start to walk away, I might just untuck the shirt and undo the top button.
Sure. As you kind of walk just past her and proceed on, you just hear her behind you going.
Joan is stoic.
As you move forward towards kind of the gathered bikes and annex, you kind of walk them. They're kind of scattered around a bit, but more concentrated towards the statue. So you walk past a few of them, and you definitely get a few glances in exactly the order of glances you'd expect. You know, like Joan draws the most, then maybe Fen, Natalia not so much, and people just kind of glance at Cole and register he's there. Essentially, everyone is dressed in a real like conflux of fashions and styles. Sure, there's some kind of like 90s counterculture prevailing, kind of some grungy looking annex, some punk looking annex sort of thing, but really there's such a widespread. There's probably a couple of people there in like, you know, Soviet sort of like, you know, caps and stars and like German jackets and stuff like that. There's a real spread of individuals and a sense of chaos to it. As you approach, you see a couple of individuals prone and groaning in the grass nearby, maybe people who didn't make the cut to get past those annex vetting people. Mox is nowhere to be seen, though the mood is one of rising anticipation. And after not too long, maybe a couple of minutes or so, a cry echoes out over the crowd, and a couple of bikers stagger out from the trees nearby, followed by Mox. Mox is a guy, he's pretty big, he's pretty beefy. He has a sort of neatly trimmed kind of short cropped beard and short cropped hair, and he's wearing just kind of like jeans and one of those leather biker jackets that a lot of them seem to wear, but his is distinctive in that it has kind of in spray paint fashion over the back the word Mox. As he stalks forward after the other bikers out from the trees, the crowd starts stamping their feet, the motors revving along in time to it. Howls begin, and almost everyone there starts chanting, Mox, 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 along to the stamping. He steps forward and crushes the nose of one of the bikers with a sharp headbutt, and then flickers faster than the eye can see over to the other and snaps his knee the wrong way with a sharp kick. As the two unfortunates shriek in pain and start crawling away, they are grabbed and dragged aside by others. Mox stalks forward to the center of the crowd theatrically, rolling his shoulders in an exaggerated, swaggering stride and running one hand over his short, cropped beard. The stamping and hollering gets louder and louder as he paces back and forth like a caged animal in the widening circle until he stops suddenly with thumbs hooked into the belt loops of his jeans and his face tilted down. The crowd goes deathly silent, apart from the tinny roar of the boombox, which is switched off a moment later. Mox looks up at the annex all around him, and I think we'll end the session there, folks. Thank you for watching. Thank you for playing. If you've got any comments or questions, sling them in the chat for us to address, including if you've got any questions about World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade, the setting. We're not covering those things so much because we're trying desperately to get these 5 systems and 5 story arcs done with a 4 session each limit to them. So yeah, like the lightest bit of promo, check down there for a bunch of links. There's links to our YouTube and our Twitch. You are watching this on one of them, please check out the other. Followers, maybe you watch us on YouTube, why not catch us live on Twitch? Maybe you watch us on Twitch, why not go and watch our vast archive of video on demand of our previous series and one-shots over on YouTube. There's links to our social media, to our Discord, and to our Patreon. Please join us on any of those things if they intrigue you in any way. I don't need to patronize you by telling you what they do. You know what those things do. We run 3 weekly series here on Twitch. Each one starts at 8 o'clock GMT in the evening. Mondays is Shadows of Esteron, which is a low gothic fantasy thing from our Monday crew. There is, in fact, Inga is one of our Monday crew and is in that as well. Wednesdays is Simbroom, which John is in as well, which is kind of our flagship series. Not to do the others down, it's just our oldest one. It's been running since we started the channel. That's dark fantasy from the pens of Free League and Team Simbroom. It's really good. Come check it out. And Thursday nights is World of Darkness. Is this Cincinnati Chronicles? I won't summarize it again because if you've made it this far, you probably have some idea of what it's all about. We also run one-shots on the first Saturday of every month, the most recent of which was Dune, Adventures in the Imperium. How timely. And we've got a bunch of others under our belt, which are all available to watch over on our YouTube. We also ran a poll this week to see what people wanted for the December one-shot, because we're running a sequel to one of the ones we've run this year, and it's going to be Alien, also from Free League and an excellent system. So if you want to catch that, that should be probably around, we haven't confirmed it yet, but probably around the first Saturday of December. If you want to catch up on what has happened in that one shot before we go into the sequel, then just go to our YouTube and watch a sequence of videos called Alien, A Place of Burning, which is good. And that will be accompanied by 2 of these people. John and Pierre are in Alien, so hopefully they'll rejoin us for that one. That's so much promo, you guys. It's so much promo. What have we got, John, in terms of comments and questions and the like?
I feel bad putting my comment up first, but
go for it. I'm not even reading that out.
Pierre?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Prince Senpai has noticed me.
Senpai?
That's a
No,
bit too southern.
it was chocolate pie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh,
At some point, I'll stop being an idiot, but we'll see. It's funny when you were saying alien just there. I thought you were like, for a second, my brain like blanked, and I thought you were mispronouncing a lion, and I was like,
it's the a lion roleplay system where you play lions.
And I was like, that's a weird way to say lion, but actually we're saying alien.
I was, yeah, it's true. I can't deny any of the things you're saying
in the normal pronunciation.
yeah. But hey, it's been a long night. One from Malice here: the awkwardness of leaving messages back in the day. Yeah, right. It's one of the reasons I think the World of Darkness works better set back in the 90s. It's just because once you introduce smartphones and stuff to it, it doesn't feel as dark, or there's less mystery to the world, I suppose. But
something sinister about being cut off halfway through the message you wanted to send.
Exactly. I think obviously, like V5 does a good job in that, like all kind of communication devices and like online presence is banned by the Camarilla because of the Second Inquisition. But and that works. It's just like,
That feels like a really different vibe, because in the 90s, it's like that information, whatever information you want is there. You just have to go the long way of finding it, do a library roll or whatever. Whereas with 5th edition, it's like all of the information you could possibly want is there. You have no way of getting it because everything's on the internet.
Yeah.
If you ask someone about it, they'll think you're weird because it's on the internet.
But also as well, because it's online presence, you can just go to an internet cafe and Google it.
Yeah.
It's just a tricksy thing comparing the settings. But V5 is great. I'm not doing down V5, by the way. We ran some V5 on the channel, a series of it, and it is really good. And I love the way it handles some things over this, which is the V20 of Vampire. But some elements of it are tricksy. I should also mention, by the way, we had a follower tonight. Thank you, Florus1976. We hope you enjoyed it. Anything else, John, from the archives of chat?
Not
which is my favorite mid-90s indie band.
My general thinking throughout
poor Fen,
pretty much everything Pierre says.
Poor Fen. Yeah. My favorite thing that entire session was definitely the brief Frog Boy conversation. That was a lot of fun.
That was heartbreaking.
It's going to be delightful when we actually have to go and talk to them for a full conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here you go. Okay, I'll give a bit of. We're going to wait. I decided to wait till the end of the Vampire the Masquerade story arc, and obviously a number of elements like Vampire lends itself really well to including like historical figures and stuff like that, or figures based on real people. Some of them are kind of like Easter eggy, and some of them are a bit more obvious if you know the people they're based on in this. But there are a few of them in this Vampire the Masquerade portion of Cincinnati Chronicles, and at the end of the Vampire story arc, I'm happy to like talk about them and like who they are and stuff. But I will give you this one for free. The Frog Boys are based on something real. So
they're me.
We go. You, Pierre, they're based on you. Yeah, absolutely. They are based on something, and I will. I have no prizes to give, but I will definitely congratulate someone who digs up what I've based that on.
I think that means there will be prizes for anyone who can guess who the
valuable,
Frog Boys are.
Invaluable prizes. Yeah, that's absolutely cool. Have we got anything else? Probably not.
Nope.
Night Bites, they're not based on the Frog Brothers from the Lost Boys, are they? No, I was going to call them the Frog Brothers, and then I realized that would be a Lost Boys reference then. So they're not intended to be on the Frog Brothers now, which is why I called them the Frog Boys rather than the Frog Brothers. But good guess and great film. Cool. So that looks like all of it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my excellent players for being in it, and we'll see you next week for more Cincinnati Chronicles, episode 3 of My Brother's Keeper. Take care, folks. See you soon. Bye-bye.